Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. Welcome to our bite-sized session, What is Pinot Noir? My name is Kimberly Dupuy, and I'm the Regional Marketing Manager for our WSET Americas team, and I'm also a part of our Global Marketing team. This session today will be recorded and available on demand after the event on WSET Global's YouTube channel, where you can enjoy all of our Events Hub and on-demand webinars. Please use the Q&A box to submit your questions. These will be answered at the end of the presentation. We'll be sending out a short feedback survey after the webinar. It would be great to hear your thoughts to shape our future events. I would now like to introduce today's speaker, Ina Finn, Sommelier and Bourgogne Wine Official Ambassador, Ina Finn Wine Concepts, and BIVB. Ina lives in Hamburg and started her career in the wine business in 1998. She worked as a sommelier in 2 wineries, including Aubon Clément and Jim Clendon in California. In 2002, Ina became self-employed and founded her company, Ina Finn Wine Concept. In 2004, Ina completed the Diploma in Wine and Spirits before founding their own event room, Villa Verde, where she runs wine training courses and wine seminars. In collaboration with German Wine and Sommelier School, Ina runs the WSET courses for wines, sake, and spirits at Villa Verde. She has been a Bourgogne Wine Official Ambassador since 2014. In 2019, Ina completed WSET Level 3 Award in Sake and teaches Level 1 Award in Sake herself. Ina has love for Bourgogne and 2 grape varieties, Chardonnay and Pinot Noir. For her, wine is a never-ending journey of discovery. So over to you, Ina, and thank you for joining us today.
Kim, thank you very much for introducing me, and thank you for the great opportunity to talk to all of you about my absolutely favorite variety, Pinot Noir. Let's have first a look at the origin of Pinot Noir. Pinot Noir is a very old variety. It exists for more than 2,000 years, and the origin is in the eastern part of France, in the Bourgogne. It is completely normal when a variety exists for so long time that it mutates. And what can happen? The shape of the leaves can change. The size of the berries can change. The thickness of the skin can change. So nowadays we have more than 1,000 registered clones of Pinot Noir. In the Bourgogne, it is not that big deal to talk a lot about clones. They have several clone selection, but in the New World, it is more a topic, and the winemaker look for special clones they will use for the wine or for the vineyards. The origin of its name comes from pigne. It's a French name for pine, because the shape of the bunch of the grapes looks like a pine cone. When a variety has such a long history, so we have also to talk about the Noirian family. What does it mean? In the past, for example, in the Middle Age, it was completely common to plant several varieties within a vineyard. And so Pinot Noir and in this case Gouye Blanc were on the same vineyard. And the marriage took place via pollination in a very natural way. And the result were new varieties, offsprings of this couple. Gouye Blanc nowadays doesn't exist, it disappeared. but Pinot Noir is a very generative variety, and the preferred partner in the past were Gouye Blanc. Chardonnay is a very famous offspring of this couple. Gamay, Aligoté, and Sacy are still found in Bourgogne. Millon de Bourgogne has a new home. It is on the western part in the Loire Valley. In the Nantais, there is made Muscadet du Sèvres, for example. What is the most comfortable environment for Pinot Noir? Let's have a look for the profile of Pinot Noir. Pinot Noir is a fine grape variety, but it is also a sensitive and delicate grape variety. It's like a diva, and it is not that easy to work with in the vineyard and also in the cellar. It hates heat, it fears mildew, spring frosts, and so on. But Pinot Noir prefers a moderate, cool climate. It loves calcareous clay soil, especially the Jurassic limestone in Bourgogne. It needs this precise conditions to express itself with genius. Here you see a picture, and it looks pretty. Lots of this little ovens in the vineyards, but these ovens, they are called chevrettes. They are used during springtime. The smoke of these little fires reduce the cooling of the soil, and this can reduce the frost damages. The origin of Pinot Noir lies in France, in the Bourgogne, but nowadays it is spread all over the world. Let's have a look at the international side of Pinot Noir. We have different names outside of France for Pinot Noir. For example, Spätburgunder in Germany, or Blauburgunder in Austria, Pinot Nero in Italy. Like you see here, or as I mentioned, Pinot Noir needs a cool continent, or it needs a cool climate. For example, a continental climate, you find it in Germany, for example, in Baden or in the Rheingau area. But you find Pinot Noir also on the Southern Hemisphere in New Zealand. One of my favorite spots there is Central Otago. Sometimes the vineyards are also on higher altitudes in Alto Adige or Südtirol. And sometimes the vineyards are cooled by a maritime influence. Here you see, as an example, Carneros. You have the cold California storm in the Pacific, and Carneros is not far away from San Francisco. And through the San Pablo Bay comes the cool influence from this California stream, and it's like a natural air condition, and it's perfect conditions for Pinot Noir. Also very interesting, in my opinion, is Australia's Mornington Peninsula. From 3 sides, it is surrounded from the ocean. Around 80% of plantings in Mornington Peninsula are with Pinot Noir, and they are quite delicate. So let's have a look to France again. Oh no, first of all, the international statistics. We have around or more than 100,000 hectares of Pinot Noir worldwide. It is one of the most important red grape varieties from which wine is produced. The main part is in Europe, in France, yeah, for sure, but also in the United States. The main part is in California, but also in Oregon, for example. In France, the 2 most important wine regions are Bourgogne and the Champagne. Since the 1960s, the area under Pinot Noir in France has almost quadrupled. So it is in France for sure a very important variety. Let's go back to Bourgogne, and let's have a look to the map of Bourgogne. Where is the Bourgogne situated? On the map, on the left-hand side, you see the location of the Bourgogne in the eastern part, and above that, you see the sub-regions of Bourgogne. On the northwestern side, we have the Chablis and the Grand Auxerrois region. South of Dijon, we have the Côte de Nuit and the Côte de Beaune, also known as Côte d'Or. And further south, we have the Côte Chalonnaise and the Mâconnais. The whole region is around 350 kilometers long. And for sure, there are differences in the climate. In the Mâconnais, you can't find Pinot Noir, it's too warm. But further up, the conditions are perfect for Pinot Noir. And on the next page, you see the distribution of Pinot Noir in the Bourgogne. In total, we have 40% of plantings with Pinot Noir in the Bourgogne. For sure, there are very well-known appellations in the Bourgogne. We have this. We have in total 84 different appellations in the Bourgogne. 78 can be with Pinot Noir. The flagship appellations are situated in the Côte d'Or, but there are lesser known but very interesting appellations in other sub-regions. One of my favorites in the Grand Auxerrois region is, for example, Irancy. It is a very, very unique Pinot Noir style. And also, this is my recommendation when you step in the world of Bourgogne Pinot Noir. Start with an Mercury village Pinot Noir from the Côte Chalonnaise. It is a very nice fruity style with a balanced acidity, very nice tannin structure, and it is good to start and to come in the world of Pinot Noir in the Bourgogne. So it is in order to understand Pinot Noir from Bourgogne, you have to take a look to the terroir from this side. So the Bourgogne is a patchwork of different types of soil based on a clay limestone mix. The journey started in the Jurassic period, almost 200 million years ago. This is an enormous long time in which the terroir of Bourgogne was able to develop. In the meantime, for example, the Alps have formed, and this enormous force has shifted entire layers of earth, including in Bourgogne. So in the Bourgogne, you can find fault lines. There are differences between the topsoil and the bedrock. There are the differences between water holding capacity and good water drainage. There are differences within short distances in the terroir. And it is a very complex subject, and that's the point. Pinot Noir is very sensitive to express in a very delicate way the most subtle differences in terroir. And the winemaker plays the role of a conductor of the orchestra of the terroir. If you want to have a look a little bit deeper in the terroir world of Bourgogne, then watch this video on YouTube, the birthplace of terroir in the Bourgogne. So, but it is not at all this point of terroir. It is also important to have a look to the exposure and orientation of the vineyards. You see here on this graphic, there's a plateau, there's a hillside, and there's a sound riverside. And it is very important where on the slopes are the vines, how steep is the slope, and what orientation has the vineyard. And it is not a straight line. The vineyards of the Bourgogne, it's not a straight line. So you have some interruptions. We call it in the Bourgogne combe. These are a kind of side valleys, and they also brought new material, new sediments through the valley and changed not only the soil, also the orientation. For example, in the Côte d'Ivoire, main vineyards are located or have exposure to the east, and so they get the morning sun. This is for sure also an important point when you talk about the terroir for Pinot Noir in the Bourgogne. And there are names for that. In the Bourgogne, we call it climat. It is the name of the vineyard. It is like the DNA of Bourgogne. And we have hundreds of climat in the Bourgogne. For example, we have more than 640 different Premier Cru climat in the Bourgogne. And it is an ultimative expression of the terroir in the Bourgogne. The word climat indicates the relationship between a wine and its origin. For example, from the history, the monks did a very, very great job. They were looking for the perfect sites for Pinot Noir, for example, and when they picked out a very, very good piece of land for this, then they surrounded it with walls, and they call it clos. For example, Clos Saint-Denis or Clos de Vougeot. And it is an enclosure climat, and you find it sometimes in the name of a climat. What is the aromatic profile of Pinot Noir? Yeah, color is not aromatic part, but it is also important to talk or to mention that Pinot Noir is not that deep colored. It's not like Cabernet Sauvignon. It is more the medium ruby, and with age, a medium garnet or tawny. When you drink a fresh Pinot Noir, you have more the primary aromas, and the flavors are more on the red fruit side. For example, raspberry, red cherry, strawberry. But you find also very delicate notes, floral notes, violets, for example, or herbal notes of thyme, for example. You can measure Pinot Noir very good in oak, and so you find for sure also the secondary aromas. For me, very interesting are the tertiary aromas of Pinot Noir. Sometimes they are a little bit special, and I think you have to get your experience with this tertiary aromas. They are like leather, musk, meat, game, earthy. It's like a little bit more morbid, but it can be heaven when you are familiar with this very great tertiary notes of Pinot Noir. As you have seen, there is a wide spectrum of tertiary aromas in Pinot Noir. So it is also interesting to look at the aging potential of Pinot Noir. The vintage is an important aspect for Pinot Noir. There are at least two reasons for this. It is a solo artist, and it prefers the cooler and moderate climate, I'm sorry, not only in Bourgogne, but in all wine regions with Pinot Noir, where is Pinot Noir grown. In Bourgogne, the drinkability of Pinot Noir differs according to the classification levels. Let's have a look to the classification levels of Pinot Noir. When you prefer to drink an easy style of Pinot Noir, then you should drink an appellation régionale, and this is best drunk within 2 to 4 years. More complex and more different are the village and the village premier cru levels. They reach the drinkability after 3 to 5 years and the peak within 8 years. But it depends on the clima and on the vintage. They can age much longer. And last but not least, the flagships are the Grand Crus, and you should give them at least 4 to 6 years when you want to drink them young. They usually reach the maturity at 10 years, but they can also be drunk older. And in this case, the vintage is very important. In the youth of a wine, of a Pinot Noir, it's, in my opinion, very interesting. The handwriting of the winemaker is especially dominant, and with age, in the maturity of the wine, you can taste more and more the terroir from which it originates. And this is very interesting. And Pinot Noir, it is a variety that can express in a very delicate and very pure and very unique way the terroir where it comes from. Last but not least, let's have a look to the food you can pair with Pinot Noir. Is there a rule for? You should not match overspiced food with Pinot Noir. More the lighter meat matches very good with Pinot Noir. It is perhaps not that good that when you roast the meat, it is better to smoke or slightly smoke. My favorite is the fromage or the cheese époisse. I like it a lot, the cheese and the match with Pinot Noir, but feel free and try what you want with this absolutely great variety Pinot Noir. You can talk hours about this great variety, and I hope you have a little idea more about this variety. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Ina. That was an amazing presentation. We have about 6 questions in the chat so far. So if you don't mind, we'll try to take as many questions in this last 7 minutes that we have.
Okay.
So you tell me when you're ready, I'll start reading that.
I am ready.
Okay. Someone would like to know, please, can you explain again the difference between climate and close?
Okay. The vineyard name in the Bourgogne is called Climat. It's not it's not the same like climate. It is the name of the vineyard. And sometimes when the terroir is very unique, the monks surrounded the Climat with a wall. It is in enclosure vineyard site. And so you find this in the name of the Climat. For example, Clos de Vougeot or Clos Saint-Denis.
Great, thank you. The next question is, what do you think about the influence of oceanic minerals in Pinot Noir, and considering it has historically been a continental grape?
When the climate is cool and moderate, then it works. You find lots of regions all over the world for Pinot Noir that is cooled by a maritime influence. So it is not only Canaries. You find it also, for example, in Chile and in Australia. You find it in New Zealand. The climate has to be cool and moderate. That's the rule.
Okay. What Okay, so this is a good one. What were the best vintages in the last 10 years, in your opinion? I don't know how much time we have, but
But there is no general answer. You have to look for the climat and for the subregions within the Bourgogne. 2005 was very nice. 2015 was very nice. Also 2019, for example. But it is, in my opinion, not easy to talk about the vintages. You have to look very special on the site in the Bourgogne.
Mm. Another person asked, could you run through the food and wine pairings again for Pinot? If you, or maybe share your favorite. That's what they were curious.
Should I go back to the dishes, or game dishes are perfect with Pinot Noir. Pâtés are perfect with Pinot Noir. Light meat, for example, veal is perfect with Pinot Noir. Grilled vegetables are very nice. You can, the rule is not to overspice the food. And so it goes very well with Pinot Noir.
Okay. Another question we have is, what happens when Pinot Noir is cultivated in more hot, humid climates?
You have a very marmalade, jammy marmalade wine with no balance, with a huge lack of acidity, and no nice structure. You have a marmalade wine.
Great, thank you. We have quite a lot of questions, so I'm just trying to go through them. What do you mean by a winemaker's handwriting in the young Pinot Noir?
Oh, for example, in Bourgogne, some winemakers decide to put some stamps in the mash, so that you ferment the Pinot Noir not only with the berries, you use also a part of the stems, and then you have a special tannin structure in the wine, for example, and then if they decide to use the punch downs or the pumping over, what kind of oak barrels the winemaker choose. There are lots of decisions the winemaker will decide, and so in the youth of the wine, you can taste it more than the terroir.
Another question is, what is the typical ABV when producing Pinot Noir?
Around 13.5 degrees or volume.
The next question is, how about their life? How many years can it stay in the bottle? So how long can you age the wine?
Depends on the classification level. Premier Cru, minimum 10 years. Appellation Régionale, up to 4 or 5 years. Grand Crus, you can keep it for decades. So it depends on the classification level or the quality of the terroir outside of France, outside of the Bourgogne. There are great Pinot Noirs from California, for example, or from the Central Otago. Also, they can also measure very, very, very good.
And then one of the last questions I'll ask, someone asked, which is the best soil around the world for Pinot Noir?
The benchmark is the Bourgogne, the Jurassic limestone. It's, the reference.
Another question is, could you suggest any books about Burgundy? I mean, other than our WSET qualification books, is there any additional books?
My Bible is, for example, the book from Jasper Morris, Inside Burgundy, or Inside Burgundy. And this book has very, very good maps and very nice explanations. I like it a lot.
Mm.
There
And-
are other books, but this is my Bible.
And then one last question is, how is global warming affecting the grape growing for Pinot?
And indeed, good question. It is still okay in the Bourgogne, but when you have a look to the map, not now, but perhaps afterwards, then you see, for example, the Haute Côte de Beaune or the Haute Côte de Nuit, the higher vineyards at the plateau, and they prefer nowadays from the climate changing, for example. So there are changings.
Yes, and for the other people who have submitted questions, we'll follow up with you after the webinar because we're right on time. I just want to say thank you, Ina, so much for your time today. This is an excellent webinar and I truly enjoyed it. I hope everyone else did too. Thank you to all of our audience members who joined from all over the globe. We had the most people from different countries register for today's webinar. So we really appreciate your time for joining live. And if you'd like to access this recording, remember that our events hub is on our YouTube channel, WSET Global. And you can find out more about our wine and spirits qualifications on our Where to Study page at wsetglobal.com/where to study. Yes, and please consider subscribing. And once again, thank you so much, Ina, for your time today.
Thank you, Kim.
We really appreciate it.
Great pleasure. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.